friends, my name is Faye and you're watching Mystery Date with a Book. Today we're doing our January wrap-up and I've read a whopping 14 books in January. Okay, now, it might not seem like much to some booktubers, but yeah, I read a lot. In my opinion, 14 books. That's about twice as much as what I would usually read in a month. So, yes, I started off the year really well, if I may say so myself. Not to brag, but oh my goodness, I've had such a good reading month. I picked up some really good books. And the first book of the year was my very first Stephen King book. It's Misery. Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is my first Stephen King book, and it was recommended to me by so many people. Oh my goodness, thank you so much to everyone who has recommended this book to me, because I loved it. I really did. It was my first book of the year, first book of the decade. Hello. Count yourself lucky, Mr. Stephen King. This book is about this author, really famous author, who gets into an accident and then he wakes up in this crazy old lady's house. He can't go anywhere. She kind of keeps him trapped in there. She says she's nursing him back to health, but honestly there's no way for him to get out. He can't call home, he can't do anything, and back then they didn't have phones, I think. They didn't have mobile phones, sorry, that's what I meant. So, yeah, it was a really good book. I highly recommend it. I think I gave it either 4.5 or 5 stars, I can't remember which, but it was so good. I really do recommend this to anyone who likes reading anything. I wouldn't recommend this to children, just saying, or to teenagers even, you know, depending on their age. But yeah, because some scenes can get very graphic, very gruesome, very kind of gross in a way. So, yeah, it's not for the faint-hearted, but it's a really good book, so yes, please go read it. And the second book, I was gonna say and the second book of the month was the second book in the Mistborn trilogy, The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. Another new favorite author of mine. This is the second book that I've read of his, and oh my goodness, this man can write. Oh wow, okay. So, if you haven't read the Mistborn trilogy yet, I'm not going to spoil anything for you. I'm just going to say it's a trilogy set in a fantasy world where the bad guy has won, okay? And he has ruled the land for 1,000 years. So this little group of Ska, they're basically slaves. They're very low in the social hierarchy there. And they get together, some of them get together, and they try to overthrow the bad guy, the Dark Lord. So it's amazing. It's such a brilliant book. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It was beautiful. It made me think about things. It's just such a good book. There are lots of characters in there, so be aware of that. You know, it's easy to get lost when you have a lot of characters in the first book of the trilogy like that. You get introduced to a lot of things very fast, but it's so worth it. Stick to it. It's worth it. Read the whole trilogy. I'm on the third book right now, Hero of Ages, or The Hero of Ages, I don't know. Anyway, the third book in the Mistborn trilogy. I have no words. It's so good. Have no words. Read the Mistborn trilogy, please. Then I read for my Narnia read-along. If you don't know, I'm doing a Narnia read-along every week. In January and February, we're reading one of the books in the Narnia Chronicles, or the Chronicles of Narnia, sorry, by C.S. Lewis. I have this massive complete works of the Chronicles of Narnia, and yeah, it's kind of heavy. It has all the books in them. For January, we read the first 4. There were 4 weeks in January. we started with The Magician's Nephew. It kind of gives us a really good foundation for the rest of the Narnia stories. It tells us how the world of Narnia was created. And yeah, The Magician's Nephew, brilliant, brilliant book. I didn't remember the details of the story. I remember reading it, but it was so long ago I didn't remember what it was about. So good. So good. And then the following week we read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which is my favorite. I know it's very cliche, it's the most popular one, but it's my favorite. It's the best one. It's when the four Paravel children, I can never say their names properly, but you know who I mean. Lucy, Edward, Susan, and Peter. That's when they come into Narnia and become kings and queens of Narnia. It's not a spoiler, come on, everyone knows that. The books have been out for decades. Then we go into The Horse and His Boy. Now, The Horse and His Boy, that was my least favorite so far anyway. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 stars. There were too many characters and too many different lands involved in the story. The story itself was a little bit confusing. So, in my opinion, that's the least good book. That doesn't make any sense. So that's my least favorite book of them so far. Then last week, we read Prince Caspian, and I really, really enjoyed this one. I'm going to set this up because it's really heavy. Prince Caspian, it was so, so good. I remember watching the Disney adaptation for Prince Caspian, and let me tell you, it's good. It's good. Not just the adaptation, but the book as well. It gets you ready for the next book in installment. There's a lot of foreshadowing there, and it's just so good. Yeah, there's not much I can say about the Narnia books, except that they're a classic for a reason. Now, next week, we're going to read The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, which I've seen the film as well, so I know the story. I've never read it, though, so it might be a little bit different. Then we get to The Silver Chair, which I've never read, and The Last Battle, which I've never read. So the end is going to be a surprise for me, and I'm really looking forward to that. Okay, then, as you know, I always listen to at least one audiobook a month, and this month I listened to The Guinevere Deception by somebody. I don't remember who it's by. Somebody. The Guinevere Deception, I'm going to put the book up here, and it was good, but not as good as I expected it to be. I was very bored for most of the book. I know, it's sad. I mean, I didn't care for any of the characters. The stakes were not high at all, so there was no emotion connection to the story, you know. I just didn't care, honestly. I don't know if I read it at the wrong time, if I wasn't in the mood to read it, I don't know, but it just wasn't for me. No, The Guinevere Deception was a disappointment. It was. Sorry. Well, I'm sorry if you enjoyed that book, but you know, if you haven't read it yet, you know, I wouldn't waste my time. But it's just my opinion. You know, you might really like it. So, yeah, give it a try if you haven't yet. Right, then the next book's a little bit different. I'm reading all sorts of books this month. Honestly, it was brilliant. The next one was Naruto. I read volumes 1 and 2. You can see where I am here. I've read volumes 1 and 2. I'm gonna leave volume 3 for some time in the future when I feel like picking it up again. I really do enjoy Naruto. I really enjoy this series. But sometimes the main character, Naruto, he can be so annoying. So immature. Naruto is meant to be a 12-year-old boy, but sometimes he acts as if he was 5. That kind of annoys me. His reactions annoy me, but the story itself is so good. His background, he doesn't even know about his background, is really interesting, so I want to know what happens in that scenario there. Yeah, it's a good story. The side characters are good. I'm really enjoying the side characters. Naruto, I'm still convincing myself to like him. Yeah. So, Yes, Naruto by... Who's it by? Masashi Kishimoto. Oh, is that right? I don't know. I could have butchered this name. Oh, it's the other way around. Sorry. Sorry, this is the front of the book. I'm so bad at mangas. Okay, so Masashi Kishimoto. I think that's how you say it. I don't know. Yeah. So, Naruto. I'm enjoying it so far. Okay, then I read an arc, so it was in the ebook format. It's about 4 children, 13-year-olds, who try to solve mysteries, and I did not like that book. I got that book from NetGalley, and I made it very clear in my review. I left it on GOODREADS. If you want to check it out, I'm going to leave the link below. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you what the name of the book was. It was Nutmeg Street Egyptian something. I'm going to put the cover up here. It fell flat for me. I'm sorry. I mean, they were 13-year-olds, but they acted as if they were 33. You know that kind of story? That really bugs me. Children acting like adults, it really bugs me. But then sometimes their words will be very mature and grown up, but their actions will be very immature, like 4-year-olds. Like, they will pout if they were upset, or, you know, push their dinner plate away because they didn't feel like eating. Like, you know, plus 13-year-olds offering to do chores around the house, enjoying doing their chores around the house. That's not real. I'm sorry. I've been a 13-year-old. I've had friends. I'm a primary school teacher now, so I kind of have an idea of what 11-year-olds are like, which is not that far from 13. And, a 13-year-old would not be happy to offer help, to do the laundry, to set the table, to do, you know, things like that. They wouldn't just offer. Especially if their friend was at their house at the moment, they would rather go to their room and, you know, play with their phones or talk to their friends, especially if they're solving a mystery. Go to your room, gather all your clues, talk it out. Don't just, you know, offer to keep helping the grown-ups. Like, no. So, yes, that was a fail for me. That was my least favorite book of the month, I want to say. It wasn't even my favorite, it was just a really bad book. I have to be honest, it's my channel, I'm gonna be honest. It was a bad book. It was a bad book. Okay, after that, things picked up. I did a buddy read with Kat from Bruising Reviews, and we read The Last by Hannah Jameson. This is so good. Okay, it's not for everyone, I have to say, but Kat and I really, really enjoyed it. We had so much fun trying to come up with theories as to what would happen in the end. This is a book about the end of the world, basically. Some countries attacked each other with nuclear bombs. Most major cities in the world were attacked, and there's a group of people, about 20 people, who were trapped, basically. They were stranded in a ski resort. It was, I don't know if there was a lot of skiing going on, but it was a resort up in the mountains, and in Germany or Switzerland, I don't remember, but yeah, either Switzerland or a Swiss hotel. Yes, Switzerland. And it was really, really good. The ending was a little bit disappointing because I have to say, Kat came up with a theory that was so much better than what Hannah Jameson came up with. So yes, if you want a book for buddy reading and you want to come up with theories and, you know, things like that, pick this up. The Last, you're not gonna regret it. It's so, so good. Just don't expect much from the ending. It's not as spectacular as I was hoping for. But yeah, still a good book. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. Then, at the end of the month, I took part in the 1,000 Pages Readathon hosted by Victoria at What Victoria Read. I'm going to leave the link down below. I'm going to leave everything down below, okay? So don't worry about it. For that, I read Final Girls by Riley Sager, or Sager. I think it's Sager. Anyway, Final Girls by Riley Sager. This is a thriller. I listened to it as an audiobook, even though I do have a physical copy. I just felt like listening to it. I don't know why. It was good. It was really, really good. The end caught me off guard a bit. I'm not sure why I didn't see the ending coming, but yeah, it was good. It was a good thriller for me. I know it's not the best thriller out there, but it's interesting. I wish I would have read this in October when, I like to read all my thrillers, but still a really good book. If you want a good thriller to get into, the genre, Final Girls is a really good place to start. Afterwards, I picked up This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay, and this is so good. Okay, this is a book. It's non-fiction. I don't usually read non-fiction, but this month I read two. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is by Adam Kay. He used to be a junior doctor working for the NHS. It's the National Health Service in the UK. And he published little bits of his diary. He kept a diary back then, and he published a few bits of it. It's so good, honestly. It makes you appreciate doctors and nurses a bit more. All NHS staff, really. They work so hard. So hard. And a lot of those potentially amazing doctors are leaving the profession because there's a lack of support from the government. They have to work crazy hours. There's no time limit to their shifts. Sometimes they have to sleep in the hospital because, there's no point in going back home and coming back in an hour. Some of the stories are hilarious. It made me laugh out loud. It was so good. But at some points, I was worried about him as a doctor, about him as a person. Not just him, but all doctors, of junior doctors and nurses and midwives and everyone, they need so much more support than what they're getting. They don't get paid enough. They don't get psychological support for what they're going through, for what they're seeing around them. Guys, hashtag save the NHS. This is a serious problem, and it's such a good, funny book as well. I think this is a must-read for everyone. Everyone. Read this book! This Is Going to Hurt by Adam Kay. Read it. Now, the next book I'm going to talk about is another non-fiction. I don't usually read non-fiction, but for some reason I picked up two this month. This was actually read in the middle of the month, but these books are not in the right order, so it's just the last book I'm going to talk about. It's Miranda Hart, Is It Just Me? Now, if you're not from the UK, you probably haven't heard about Miranda Hart. If you have, kudos to you, well done, because she's very British, she's very UK based, as far as I'm aware. Miranda Hart, this is just her talking about her views on life, basically. About beauty, about education, about Christmas and as a family. She picks up random topics and then talks about them, and you can see how much of her real self is in her TV show, Miranda. If you haven't watched Miranda yet, oh my goodness, please do so. It's hilarious. Now, this is very niche. I think she was 38 when she wrote this book, and she talks to women on her age group. If you're not in her age group, then it's hard to relate to some of the things she says. Sometimes I felt a bit out of the loop, if you know what I mean. Like, what is she talking about? Sometimes she was talking that if you're over 35, then you worry about your knees all the time. You won't be able to run or anything like that. And I'm thinking, really? If you're over 35, then you can't run anymore and you worry about your knees? I'm like, I don't want to get to that stage. No, thank you. I would think that you could run until you're at, 50 or something? But anyway, she was talking to people her age. So, if you're getting to 35, you might feel old reading this. You're like, I don't want to get to that stage. But it's life, I guess. And this is just one person's point of view, so take it with a pinch of salt, you know. Plus, she's a comedian, so don't really take it seriously. Yeah, she's brilliant. She's so funny. And yeah, if you're looking for a chilled book to read, you can pick this one up. It's not my favorite, not by a mile, but it was okay. I think I gave it 3 or 3.5 out of 5 stars or something. It got a bit boring after a while. Like, I just couldn't relate to it anymore. Anyway, those were the 14 books I read in January. 14 books, that's crazy. That's just insane. Okay, so if you've read any of these books, let me know. Let me show you. Okay, I can do this. Oh, goodness, it's heavy. Okay, so if you've read any of these books, let me know down in the comments. What did you think of them? Is there any book here that's on your TBR? Would you like to read some of them? We can just talk about them, or anything else you like, really. Let's just talk down in the comments. And that's it, guys. If you like this video, you know what to do. Give it a thumbs up, click the bell, subscribe, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.